Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the So She Slay Show. I'm Heather.
I'm Chauncey, and today we have an amazing guest and a really good friend of ours, Vikki Louise. Please introduce yourself and how amazing you are.
Thank you so much for having me. So fun to be here. So I'm Vikkie Louise. I call myself the reformed hustler turned time hacker because I was probably like many of you, the person that was doing all the things and filling all my time and felt like I'd reached that point of like, I can't give anymore and I'm not moving any more forward. So we're going to speak all about how I overcame that today. I'm going to give you guys some tips and tools. I also Fun fact, I'm calling in from France, which is nice. And I host my own podcast called Fuck Anxiety and Get Shit Done.
I
I
love
mean, I
that.
can't come up with a better name. I mean,
Yeah, I love that. like you, thank you, thank you for putting it in a better term. We're like, yeah, just fuck it. So I love it.
oh my gosh. Well, we kind of today we're talking about like time management skills and strategies for success. But before we dive straight into that, I kind of want to talk about you talk a lot about being a reformed hustler and then how to kind of teach people to optimize their time so that they get like 50% of, they get done what they took a whole day in like 50% of the time. So, let's just dive right into that because I want to know how you do
And teach us,
I'll- yeah,
please.
definitely. Yeah, so it's all about how can we achieve more in 50% of the time. And part of that is when we are coming at things. So how I define hustle is it's like a mindset. It's when we are doing things to prove that we are good enough. We're doing things to prove that we are successful. So when we're doing things from like that net negative space, we're already disempowering ourselves and we're more likely to take on more than we can chew. We're more likely to say yes when we mean no. We're more likely to decide that we can get 20 things done in a day when no human can, and we're not robots and we're not meant
we're
to
not
be, but
machines, guys. We're
Yeah,
not
we're not
machines.
robots.
and that's a good thing. But we forget that sometimes, right?
All the
All the
time,
time,
Vicky. All the
all
time.
the time. This morning, all the time.
It's
This morning
so
alone.
good. Yeah. You're like, so I'm not doing 20 things today?
I
What?
really thought I had like a lot of things, and I was like, no, I can breathe a little bit. So yes, I am part of the reason why people are stressed out. Yes, I know.
um, so it's really about like optimizing and committing to doing less, but doing it really well. And if that means disappointing someone, if that means missing a deadline, if that means pulling out of a project that you said you would do, the idea is like everyone is going to benefit from that, not just you. The team is also going to benefit from not having someone that doesn't have the time or energy to commit as well. So, for example, I just remember coaching someone like a year ago, and she literally had 20 things on her to do and was getting none of them done because when we have too much to do, it's like, hello, overwhelm, procrastination, and then nothing gets done. And then we just add those 20 things to the next day, and so on and so forth. So it's not actually that difficult to achieve more in half the time because we are so inefficient in how we use our time to begin with, not out of mistake of our own, because we're literally never taught these tools. Like, no one at any point is like, hey, you're not in school or in a structured environment. Let me teach you how to optimize your time. So, in school, we are taught to be busy and to fill the hours. And as adults, as entrepreneurs, as women with multiple roles,
Yes.
like we end up completely, full in our lives. Um, and then the idea of taking time to do something like time management is like, what are you talking about? I don't have time for time management.
So
That is so
basically,
true.
kind of like what I'm hearing is you're just basically saying no more. Like you're just not saying yes
Yeah.
to things that aren't gonna drive you to the goal that you ultimately want, right? You're just saying no.
So that's like a big part of it, saying no, but really it can break down into three things. One is managing your brain, and dropping the self-deprecating
Yes.
like descriptions that we carry around, like I'm just indecisive, I'm just a procrastinator, this is just who I am, I'm just a people pleaser. Like really, like I really don't care who we've been in our past.
Yes.
Anyone that's showing up and describing themselves that way, it's like you are putting yourself in that self-fulfilling prophecy loop that's like quicksand sucking away your time
Yes.
and your power and your creativity and all of those things. So really it breaks down to like describing yourself as the person you want to be. Like, I am actually able to make decisions. I actually do things when I say I'm going to do them. I am willing to say no, like all of that. So that's like the first one. The second one is actually making quick decisions and implementing them, because and maybe you ladies have experience with this. I have a lot of experience with this. This was like me to a T, was making decisions and then like not actually implementing them.
Yes.
So I'd be like,
Yes.
Oops.
That's us.
like, yeah, it's all of us, right?
Yes.
And so what I teach is like a decision not implemented is a decision not made. We don't get to give ourselves credit for making a decision if we're not implementing. And for example, that could be in the saying no thing. So I have a client who took on more than she could chew and was like, oh, like I know that I need to drop doing this, so I've decided I'm going to, but she's not told anyone else. So not only is she doing it, she's also carrying the mental energy and the fear of like letting them down. So it's like doubling her mental load instead of just like the moment I've decided it, I'm just going to have that conversation with the person and get it done, because these uncomfortable conversations don't actually get easier with time.
No, they get
No.
harder and they start weighing on you. And then it's like
Yes.
you are it's one of those things where it's like you're thinking about it and then you're not doing it, but then you're thinking about how you need to do it, and that's taking up more time and that's
It's
causing
more
more loss
stress.
of energy. It's like it's a nice spiral that it
It's a
creates.
cycle that I hate that I'm part of. But yes.
I'm on that
Like I'm just
slide.
there and there. But no, like it's just stressful. It brings you down. You get like sick because you're like, oh, I should say this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm part of that cycle.
Yeah.
Um
I used to like, I was gonna say, I used to like wake up in the mornings thinking about the like
Yes.
the conversation I needed to have that I hadn't had. Like that would be like my wake up
Yes.
state.
oh my gosh, no.
Panicky.
That's so bad. Oh, to start your day out like that, you're just like, shoot, I need to do this.
Yeah.
And then you never
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
You never
Yeah.
just ready to
What
go.
was the third thing? You said that there's a few things.
Yes. Yes. The third thing is all about how we approach failure and rejection. And really what I mean by this is, I mean, like we're programmed to avoid failure from our evolution, because failure used to be like failing to find shelter, which was deadly. And then we are, as kids, programmed to avoid failure in schools. And then welcome to the big bad world where, like, do you really want to live a carbon copy of what someone else is doing? Because you're never going to do as good a job. So the only way to succeed is through failure. And when we avoid failure, we avoid success. When we avoid rejection, it's kind of like, even like, you know, the job that you didn't get. There's jobs that I didn't get that I was like, oh my God, I so want this job. And now I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't get that job. Like, thank you. Right? But what we make that mean about us and how we respond to that is the difference between, oh, I'm never going to be able to get a job, I'm not good, like that spiral, which, like, again, all of this comes from my own experience. Like, it's not like I never do any of this. It's like I get it. And the more we can learn about like how to not just learn from the failure, but actually implement something. So we want to be learning and implementing very quickly. You'll see this theme come up a lot in terms of how do we achieve more in half the time. It's all about implementation, really.
Okay.
So true.
See, now, and then that makes me want to kind of dive into like implementation. Like, how do I do this? I
How do
mean,
I
we
make this
talked
work?
about it. We put some nice words around this, but how do I actually do it?
Yes, please tell us because I need it for my own self. Woo.
Yeah, I mean, you do it messy. That kind of ties into point
I
3,
love
right?
that.
So we make the decision. Yeah, and you have to be willing to take that first step forward imperfectly, which again goes against our brain's programming. But it's like, what do you think that first step is? So for example, if someone's like an entrepreneur and they want to create, I'll even give you my example. I started out as a relationship coach, which like makes me laugh now. I'm like, who was I? I was in like my first relationship of like 7 years. I was like, I'll help people find relationships. Anyway, not doing that anymore. Luckily for everyone. But, you know, I had to be willing to be like, I know I want to coach. I know I want to help people. This is like what I think I might want to do. And then I did it. And soon I was like, oh, like this isn't what I want to do. And then I went into like focusing on anxiety. And even from there, Time Hackers has evolved to now this amazing coaching community from a willingness to start and to implement and to do things messy and to go out on my Instagram and be like, hey, I'm a relationship coach. And then 3 months later be like, I'm not a relationship coach anymore. Like, you know, and we're so afraid of like, people are going to like think that I'm flaky. These are things that came up for me. People are going to think I'm flaky. People are going to think I don't know what I'm doing. I'm never going to create clients, even though like no one was watching me then. And even if they were, isn't it amazing to watch someone
like it's a transformation? Well, that's why like, what was it, like fitness and health and like all that kind of stuff, we love watching people like the
transform.
And then to tie it into the other two steps, you are way more likely to let yourself do things messy when you already are kind to yourself and think highly of yourself and won't go into like, I'm a terrible person and I'm never going to succeed, I'm going to beat myself up about it, right? And then the quicker, when you have the skill of making quick decisions, you are able to like dodge, you know, and move quite quickly into those different things. So these three together really are powerful. So implementation is really just like, I'm going to take an action based off of this decision, right? Even like, I'm thinking like when my brother went vegan, he'd like been, it was in the back of his head, and then he was at a wedding, right? And like he had a thought or something came to him, and they asked him what he wanted to eat, and he was like, yeah, the vegan option. And that was it. He went vegan and never went back, but he'd been thinking about it for a while, just not actually implementing, right?
Just not actually committing and doing it. Actions. Louder than words. Louder than words.
I love that.
You said that you're kind of a reformed hustler. Now, I mean, Chauncey and I are huge hustlers. We're really big grinders and all of that kind of stuff. So what exactly is a reformed hustler? And I mean, does that just mean that the hustle and the grind is like a myth?
Yeah. Please tell us.
Well, I think, and I like, I love female hustlers. I like, it's kind of like highly ambitious. The way I see it is highly ambitious doers, starters, get shit doneers. But like I say, I think somewhere along the way, the language kind of got a bit confused, because when you look at what hustle actually means, like to hustle someone.
That is true. That is very true.
Right?
So true.
And or to hustle is to like force something along. Like it's kind of like, is that the energy we want to be doing things from, or do we want to be learning how to create and optimize from ease? And you know, it used to be, the way I see it is, there's a lot of like, work hard work is amazing, and hard work is amazing, but we want to understand that like technology and the times have moved so fast that we don't actually need to work hard anymore. And how I speak about hustle is not, it's not doing 20 things in a day. Because someone can do 20 things in a day, like it's possible. But the person that I'm thinking of when I speak about being a reformed hustler myself, the version of me, was the version of me that was doing 20 things in a day, because I believed it would be better, and I would be better once it was done, because I believed that people would think of me higher, because that's what I thought would get me the promotions or further along, instead of like time hacking, where it really is that self-concept of like, I'm in control, taking radical self-responsibility. I'm going to optimize my time in a world where it's easy to be busy and fill it, because not only do we have like 27 different social apps and new ones,
notifications like
time,
crazy.
we have access to notifications like crazy. Even like, you know, WhatsApp messages or text messages, like you can spend an hour in a day just going back and forth on that. So now the way I see it is, you used to be able to differentiate yourself by doing all the things. That used to be like the most successful
Yes.
people were doing all the things. And now I just want to invite people to think like, if everyone is available 24/7, we can't differentiate ourselves that way anymore. How do we differentiate ourselves? By doing less, creating more space in our brain, which allows for creativity. Kind of like even like
I
daydreaming is
love to
productive.
daydream.
Daydreaming
It's my
allows us.
favorite thing to do. I used to get caught in like
Yes.
elementary school. She daydreams a lot. I didn't think that's a negative. I thought that was a positive.
Actually, you daydreaming is your brain creating something that doesn't exist instead of consuming something that does. And like, I love that Einstein quote, imagination is more important than knowledge. And I think we want to balance it. And I love, when we can infuse different knowledge from different cultures and different times in history and different, and different subjects and create something. But if all we are doing is consuming and replying, that and narrowing things down, then we're not creating massive value for the world. And I think the world is hungry now for creativity and new ideas and innovation.
So, okay, so what are the best time management strategies for success? Like, what are your best time? Like, give us something, help us.
Yeah. Yeah. So my whole thing that I teach is like time doesn't equal results. And what I mean by that is so often we're like, things just take time. And so we give time all the responsibility for like creating results in our lives. And we give it all the credit. Like it was just there at the right time. And we want to stop doing that. And instead, when we separate out time equals results, it means even for hustlers, right? You don't have to like go meditate for an hour to get value and to feel nourished. And if we think that we do because we think time is what creates us feeling relaxed, then we never pause because we're like, there's no point if I've only got 5 minutes. And what I teach and what I would love the listeners to know is 5 minutes can have a massive impact. Like I even have in Time Hackers something around like some 30-second strategies. Like 5 minutes is more than zero. And if the option is 0 or 5 minutes every day, what do you think? Like,
True.
what do you think is going to
True.
have the bigger
Very
impact?
The
true.
5 minutes, definitely, for
Yeah.
sure.
Like, you need the
Right?
5 minutes. Like, just if it's not more than
Yeah.
five, just do something. Take 5 minutes at least.
Yeah, and it can even be like, it can literally be if like you're in a place of like feeling really anxious and like, there's so many different things that we can do. Like moving our body is a really good thing. Like you can put on your favorite song, get up off the desk and like dance and move your body a little bit and have fun instead of like, I must go from my high anxious state into like meditating or I must go. So, and that's the second point that I'll give everyone, which is a lot of what you'll read around time management is like a one size fits all mass market approach.
Yes.
Eat the frog first, do the hardest thing first, do the easiest thing first, get up at
Yes.
5 a.m., sleep 9 hours, like all of these rules. And they're completely disempowering us from like, I think you are the best person to know how you work best, and are you willing to make decisions, implement them, and figure it out and hack away at it until you realize like I actually love working Friday mornings and I'm useless on a Friday afternoon, so I'm not going to keep pushing on a Friday afternoon. I'd rather do 2 hours on a Sunday or whatever it is.
I kind of started doing this thing, and especially during the pandemic, because Vikki, you and I have talked about this before too. It's like I used to have that 20 things I need to do on my to-do list. And so now I've kind of narrowed it down to like the top three things I must get done today. And then it's like the three things I have to get done. And then, but the order changes daily in how I do it. It's like, okay, maybe
Yeah.
I don't feel like working out this morning. Okay, so I'm gonna do one of the three things, go talk to my client, get all that stuff done. Then I'm gonna see how I feel. Okay, I feel like working out. Okay, I need to work out today anyway. So I go and I work out and then I come back and then then I'm like, okay, now I got two other things I gotta take care of. Let's go do that really fast and then that's
Yes.
it. But it's like, and then some days I wake up and I'm like, wow, I'm really rested. Like, let's go do some workouts. Let's go do something. And then you just like, I don't know. I always find it's easier for at least how I operate if it's constantly changing. Like I know I have certain things I have to do, but the order in which I do them changes.
The self trust that you build with yourself when you are like, okay, I'm going to commit to these 3 things no matter what. And I trust myself to make the decision and to follow through on them, instead of I have to decide on Sunday what my Friday is going to look like because I don't trust myself on Friday to make decisions and follow through on them. Like, it's such a, and listen, if that works for people, which I know that it does, then fine. But for a lot of hustlers and go-getters, and like, we like to feel empowered and in control, and feeling like a victim to calendar decisions that we made 5 days earlier is the opposite of feeling empowered. So exactly what you're saying, Heather, is kind of like the optimal strategy. It's like, to go through the 3 steps, it's like you've built the trust in yourself and the self-concept of like, I'm going to get the 3 things that, like, I'm going to get it done no matter what. You've made the decisions on the 3 things, and then you're willing to like move it around and like kind of not have it be messy, basically, and you still trust yourself to get it done. So that's how it falls into those 3 steps.
So we kind of talked about, some strategies for time management and when it comes to success. Now, we already talked about implementation. So I want to go ahead and talk about the strategies we just talked about, and then how to actually put them into practice. Because I know a lot of people, they're like, give me the list. What do I need to do? Like, what questions do I need to ask myself? Like, what steps do I need to take? How do I take these strategies and personalize them for me?
So I love
Let's
that
get
you
this ball
started out
rolling.
with what are the
So,
questions that I
what are
need
your
to ask
tips?
myself, because I
Tell
think
us the
that's the
secrets.
difference between like someone else tell me what to do versus what are the questions that I need to ask myself so that I can actually implement my sustainable time management strategies. So it can be things like, do I want to start with, with my work or myself, or like, how do I want to start my day? And then when you can like write your to-do list or whatever it is, or your 3 priorities, and break it down into the steps. And then you want to be thinking like, how long do I want this to take me? And be willing to give yourself less time. That's one of the tips that I'll give. I always say things take as long as we fucking let them. That's not to say to expect ourselves to like write an amazing email in 5 minutes, but just be willing to play with like the brain's comfort to give ourselves an hour to do things that maybe could be done in 20 minutes. I had a client once, she had a presentation. She thought it was an hour later, and then people started logging on when she was practicing. And she was like, it was the best thing that happened because I was ready. I just would have messed around for an hour, rechecking and redoing. And so I really encourage people to tighten it. And again, not for everything. So you want to be deciding, what are you doing? How long are you going to let it take you? What time of the day are you going to do it? When are you going to give yourself your 5-minute dance party or whatever the equivalent is? Do not skip over that. When am I going to call it a day? Like, what are my time boundaries? So if you were to pick one strategy, and maybe you guys could even think about this now, and tell everyone, like, what do you think would be like that first step of like, this is one thing that I could actually implement today that would help me in my time management?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would honestly, putting your phone in airplane mode to me was a good thing, because I know I'm the kind of person to check emails as soon as I wake up in the morning, as soon as I go to bed. Like, when I'm laying in bed trying to like watch TV and relax, I'm literally checking emails, Instagram stuff, or just doing anything for like, that's not even like technically like fun stuff. Like, I'm just like doing stuff for the blog or work emails. But I feel like even like cutting myself off at a certain time, with like at 10 o'clock, and just like watch TV like a regular person and have my phone on my nightstand and not play with it, like just engage with something at one thing at a time would be great. Because I like to multitask a lot. And I'm a good multitasker, but I know it's unhealthy.
Yeah,
And I need Heather, your turn.
I think for me, I tend to do the like, when I have something big I have to do, um, I procrastinate and do everything, all the like small things first. And then sometimes I'll be like, well, I wonder what's, on Pinterest or whatever, like just to avoid the, getting started and diving in. Because here's the thing, it's like, I know once I do that, like, it's fine, game over, like I'm committed, I'm gonna finish it, that kind of stuff. But it's almost the getting started part. So maybe what I start doing is that I don't know if I can do that first, but quit, I guess, like recognizing when I'm like heading to like Pinterest or Instagram or something like that
Yeah.
in order to
Yeah.
avoid getting started because I just don't feel like it
Yeah,
right
I love
now
that you
or
use that
something like
one
that.
because I do think sometimes that we can. It's kind of like I was going to say like pre-drinks when you go out or like you know
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, it's like pre-gaming.
Yeah.
Throwing back to my college
Like it's not
years.
always a
Like,
bad thing. You know
yes.
what I mean? Like it's
Jeez.
kind of like so you might decide like I actually want to give myself three things I'm allowed to do before leading into it so I can build momentum, but I know that the cutoff is three, or you know, again, being willing to test it and be messy or whatever it is, because the problem sometimes isn't doing the little things, it's the self-criticism that comes with like I should be doing this other thing. um yeah, like if you just got
Ooh,
rid of
the
the guilt,
guilt.
Mm,
you would already be in
so true.
momentum.
Before we wrap up this conversation, do you have any little nuggets, words of wisdom when it comes to strategies for time management with success, and maybe just some things that personally people just need to be a little bit more aware of, or maybe ask questions about themselves?
Please, I'm listening.
The biggest time waster is self-criticism. Like the biggest time waster, it's not just the time you spent criticizing yourself. You're then disempowering yourself. You're going to make shitty, unsustainable choices. You're not going to follow through on them. You're going to hammer away your self-trust. You're going to prioritize other people, all that bad stuff. So I just really wanted to put that out there because I know so many of us um, do that because we've been raised in this like with this like pagan background that like values productivity over people. So we just want to recognize that like that might be where my mindset is now, but is that the mindset I want to leave for like the next generation? So it's really powerful to detach. Like, is this what I would say to my best friend? Is this what I would say to my niece? Like, really just taking that pause because we are so critical to ourselves. And like exactly what Heather said, let it be a game. Like, what if life is meant to be fun and we just want to like test and see how to
Yes.
optimize it? And everything, like 99% of the things that you think are like so important and are worth your health or worth, you know, your sanity, like aren't that important and no one would notice if it was like a day later or had a typo. So we think being like pushing ourselves is going to speed us up. But when it's like creating friction. And when you like celebrate yourself and cheer yourself, it's kind of like that teacher in school that you really liked. You showed up differently to that class than the one that was always shouting at you. So that's
Yes.
like the biggest time hack.
Mhm.
The number one thing with time is, well, I'll just drop this and then we'll close it. But time management is mind management because time is a man made concept. And we know that 24 hours doesn't equal results for anyone because we all get different things done in 24 hours. And the difference is in the mind and those three steps that we spoke about today: how you think about yourself, how quick you make decisions and implement them, and how you show up in the face of failure.
Oh my
Whew.
gosh.
That was amazing. That was
Oh my
great.
goodness. Mic drop. Done.
Slayed it, slayed it. Because like you just gave me everything I need to know and then some. So thank you, Vikki. You done it again. You're gonna help
Oh
me
my
one day at a
gosh.
time.
Vikki Louise coming through with some words of wisdom right
Some
there.
knowledge, dropping
And
that
to
knowledge on people.
right, right, to wrap it up, thank you so much for
Thank
being here
you.
with us. It's always a pleasure to have you on and to talk to you about these things that affect all of us. So until next time, Slay Nation, we will see you later.
Bye.
Have a good day.